the Good Cop review of Season 1. This is a Netflix original series. It has a total of 10 episodes, which are roughly 45 minutes each, and it tells an overall arcing story kind of throughout it, but they all are separate standalone episodes as well. It is very much your typical generic cop procedural. It does have a bit of a twist as Tony Danza comes back as Tony Sr., someone that's been thrown in jail as a lifetime cop that was sort of corrupt. And there's a lot of weight in his son, which is Tony Jr., played by Josh Groban, and he is, or has become, a super good cop. He's somebody that's like morally perfect, won't do anything weird or bad. And that sort of is really what it leans into, is this sort of odd couple situation between one guy that sort of likes to let loose a little bit, and he's back out of jail and everything like that, and then his son that's over the top in the other direction because of the actions of the father. And their interactions throughout the series, they live together, and that's sort of just how things go along. Now obviously, the son has become a stellar detective and is actually pretty good at his job, and that follows mostly him and his supporting cast of individuals at the precinct as they go around solving crimes, mostly murders, sometimes a little bit of arson, and they're very typical episodes. They're episodes that are finished, they have a key point early on, a murder or something like that, and then they conclude by the end of the episode. Like I was mentioning, there is an overall story arc between multiple different characters. Senior has a whole plot revolving his wife. I'm not going into any spoilers, just trying to set up a general idea of this series and, just the basics of what's going on and their motives. The son, he's kind of trying to make his way up, while also dealing with his close friend as she works to become a detective as well, and they kind of work together. And then they've got their supporting group. There's a tech guy, which I hated. I thought it was very terribly input. But I did love their older police buddy. He would just like, in situations where it's like, the young people would run and chase somebody, he'd just stand there. And then you'd come across and like cut off the person or something and take them out. And it was a very fun, kind of lazy person. And I really liked their interactions throughout. I also thought they were quite funny. So there are serious moments, but this is very much a lighthearted thing. It's full of jokes and stuff, and it delivers hit or miss throughout. It's not just all some gritty procedural. It's got some, lighthearted fun to it. It's something you would watch on traditional TV, and that's where I kind of find that this is a bit boring in the sense that this is not something new. I mean, the concept of the two interacting each episode is interesting, but it doesn't really hook me too much. I thought the acting was hit or miss, especially with the son. I didn't find him to be a very good actor. Neither did I find his female associate to be very good either. But they strangely grew on me, and they had an awkward sort of good chemistry that worked. I find the first few episodes were really hard to get into, but once I got to the later ones, I was kind of like, it's not bad. And it's not a bad show. It's fine. I mean, it's just nothing new or different, and it feels similar. They could perhaps make it more interesting in the future. They did leave some big hooks and some unanswered questions that could kind of lead forward as far as things going on. Because again, there are those subplots, and there are the characters acting on their own. It's great when they interact with each other, but it is well paced in their own interactions in their own lives, because I mean, they're not directly working together, but they do have many crossroads of when the characters are meeting and stuff between the father and the son throughout every episode. And it was fun how they kept finding new ways to do things. It was a very silly experience in that regard, just some of the plots and some of the connections. There's a lot of singing involved, which was actually pretty good. You had some really old style music in there, and I thought that was well done. Again, it was kind of funny at times, but it didn't really do anything new, so don't be expecting something that is completely different. It's original to a degree as far as taking the cop procedural that we know so well at this point in so many different things, and then throwing in this odd couple idea with it. I think that works to a degree, and I think it just took time for it to get, the pacing going. So if the first few episodes just aren't clicking with you, stick with it a few more and see if the characters do grow on you. Because I did start to like them. By the end I was just like, it's fine. That's really how I feel about this. It's just fine. It doesn't excel. It doesn't, really hit where I'm like, oh, I'm so attached to these characters. I mean, they could sub people out next season. I wouldn't really care. As long as you keep the two core players, I guess, then it's fine. I did feel that they did have some good, more emotional sections, but it was always thrown away for a little bit of a joke or a comedy bit. So I don't think they had quite the level of grandiose as I was, looking for in that regard. To something a little bit darker. I like shows that can, be fun, really good, lighthearted, but still have those really heavy-hitting emotional segments where it's like, I didn't expect that. That was really intense. And this one could have leaned into that a bit more. I think the 10 episodes was perhaps a bit too little for this. Now it's 10 episodes of 45 minutes, and usually we have a problem with Netflix pacing. Again, this one I did find kind of boring at times. The episodes were alright in their pacing, but the reason I say that I would have wanted more episodes is so that I could see the characters develop more. Because it's a procedural, right? Usually they're short episodes. You get a lot of episodes in a season so that the stories can build more. And this one, it just felt a bit underdeveloped because there just wasn't much of it. So I don't know if I like them or not. And by the end of it, I'm just, again, meh. It's fine. I'm not blown away by it. I'll watch another season if they do it. But I'm not going to be like, wow, you should jump out on this one because it was fantastic. It's just, okay. And the acting, again, is like hit or miss here or there. I felt that they were more fun with this and they weren't as serious into it when they were jesting around with one another. I thought those were fun moments. But they could have also maybe made the lead a little bit looser. He will, I imagine, become that over, the seasons and that. And they just could have jumped to it a little bit quicker, perhaps, and had him loosen up, because he's like way too into the good cop thing, and I think that sort of detracts away from so many moments where they could be, a little less so serious in his regard. He's too by the book. It's, he can't get things done that way. And the conflictions were good between him and his father. His father wanted to do sort of wild stuff and get away with things, and then the son would come and ruin it with guidelines and everything like that, and he'd be like, terrible, whatever. So it's got some good laughs, it's got some good moments, some creative episodes, some different episodes. At one point they get a restaurant, which was weird, and then another time there's like a talk show that they're involved in. So they really do occasionally try to do those funky things where they're very serious, and then all of a sudden they're like in this weird situation where some of them are maybe undercover, or they try to change up the environment, which I thought was good. Like, they have the main house that they live in together. You see that sparingly. And then you have the precinct where you see a fair bit of time. But every episode they really do try to go to like a different location and make that the theme of the episode, to build into their general, what's going on this time, who did it, what's going to happen. And yeah, that kind of worked out well for it because it was always a change of pace. So I like that. I thought it was decently well shot. It looked fine. It did capture the city quite well, and it was very generic. I thought very, very generic show that doesn't do anything too different. It's very safe in its style, but the characters did grow on me for a decent time by the end of it, and I'd watch more. Like I had mentioned, I'd give this a 6 out of 10. You read my full review in the description below. If you have any questions, let me know. It's very straightforward. It might be harder to watch just because it is longer in terms of, the episode's length being about 45 minutes each, which is, I don't know, it kind of falls less than the standard like Netflix. Usually their primary big shows, they'll do 50, 55 to an hour, kind of that time slot. So seeing a 45-minute segment, it seems as though this was meant for TV, and then they kind of went on to Netflix with it instead, which is fine. So I think it'd be a little bit harder of a binge to do. You can watch it in breaks, and it is designed to be able to easily come back and check out an episode later if you don't have time. I wouldn't sit through all of this one at once, and I didn't. They sent it to me very sporadically. I had like 1 to 3, and then I had like 6 to 7, I think, and then I got like 4, and then I got 8, 9, 10, and then it was very weird. So I watched it in a odd order, but you can see that overall story arc being present.